Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Saturday, November 28th, 2020. I am Andrew Hansen alongside Shane Caldwell, and this is the Week 12 main slate running backs show. Shane, and we got to get some ball carriers here. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think once you get into the winter months, you got to love some of these running back plays here. That's when the teams really start pounding the rock. So we got some great running back picks for you guys this week.
Absolutely. Of course, this show is in front of the paywall, so we'd love your support on YouTube. Just a like and subscribe, hit the alert button so you know when these podcasts post. Make sure you check out the quarterback show if you haven't seen it, and also our wide receiver tight end show. All right, Shane, so where are you starting here with the Week 12 running backs?
Yeah, you could start with the Mr. November, December. I always talk about how this guy does really well once he gets into the winter months, and that's Mr. Derrick Henry. This guy's just a force of nature, man. He's like a
Yes.
locomotive when he's running. You better get out of his way. And it's amazing, like the jump cuts and the quickness of the feet for a guy that size and the ability to get up to full speed, and you can't catch him. So I like the big play upside, and I like the volume and the game script here. He's at Indianapolis. So part of the reason why I like him is that looks like a brutal matchup, depending on the ranking you're looking at. They're, top three against the run, pretty much every category, an elite defense. Except for, this week, I'm looking at the injury report, kind of monitoring what's going on in Indianapolis, and all of a sudden it popped up, okay, DeForest Buckner, their stud defensive tackle, is going to be out with COVID. And this guy is an absolute force. Talk about a force on the defensive line, just taking up double teams and just causing all kinds of wreaking havoc. And that's one of the reasons why they're so good. So he's out. And then you take another guy, Danico Autry, who's played really good for them. He rotates on the defensive end and D tackle. Another big guy who's played great. He's out on the COVID list as well. And then another starting linebacker, Okereke, is also out. So they have some key guys here out. So there's still a decent defense, but if you look at the fact that the Tennessee has, solid run blocking, they got probably one of the best running backs in terms of pure power runners with speed in Derrick Henry, and you have these really tough defenders out. That front is not going to be as tough. There's going to be a lot more room for Derrick Henry to pound the ball. And that's exactly what they're going to try to do to win this game. Indianapolis, again, is pretty decent in the secondary, pretty decent for coverage. So I expect them to have a huge volume for Derrick Henry here. He could definitely have upwards of 30, close to 30 carries. You've seen what he can do against tough matchups. Just a few weeks ago, he ran for over 100 yards against Indianapolis. He didn't end up getting the end zone, but again, that's when they were completely healthy and had all their big guys up there. Now they're losing key guys on this defense, so I think this is the spot where they're going to exploit that. Definitely the game plan is going to be pound Derrick Henry, and I think people are going to be a little scared of that matchup, so they might go away from Derrick Henry here and not want to pay up for him. So that's exactly why he makes a great play in DFS this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think you'll get lower in ownership. And I noticed that you didn't mention Dalvin Cook, who's an expensive guy, going to get a lot of ownership, but it is risky, I think, to pay that much. I mean, he is ultra expensive. So I may fade them both. I can see why you want to play Henry with those injuries, but I'm really zeroing in on Chubb here at 7,100. Nice discount. I like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, both, in that awesome matchup against Jacksonville. They've not been good against the run. And, Cleveland favored by 7 on the road here, over under 49.5 at betus.com.pa. We thank them for the lines here as our presenting sponsor. So it's challenging, of course, to know, well, you can't know who's going to get the touchdowns, but I think one of those guys is certainly going to go off and pay off at least 3x, maybe even 4x.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to run out of bounds at the 1 yard line. I think that they'll
That's
have
right.
a big enough lead where they're not worried about milking the clock. So it's good. Interesting fact about Nick Chubb in last week's game against Philadelphia. It's a tough matchup. He still produced, but I just wanted to mention he lost his contact in the game. I wear contacts. I know how it is. It took him a while to find that contact. So Kareem Hunt got more playing time. Then he pulled the Zion Williamson and ripped his shoe right off his foot and
Yep.
shredded it and was out for the game for a while there. So he missed some playing time. So Nick Chubb is actually due for more playing time this week, and the guy produces. So I just thought that was funny that he lost the contact and shredded a shoe in the same game. It's a
Yeah, it's
powerful
rough.
guy, though. Yep.
Yep.
So Next guy I'm going to go to here. This is a guy that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this guy. Talked about him a lot. I think he's one of the most talented young rookie running backs here. I'm looking at Jonathan Taylor, Indianapolis Colts here, going up against Tennessee here. We're looking at a 51.5 over under on BetUS. And Indianapolis is favored here at home. Team total over 27 points. So I look at the game script and the fact that they finally gave Jonathan Taylor his carries last week. We've been asking for it all year. And so last week, what was it, 22 carries for 90 yards. So he didn't have a monster game, but you see he had 4 targets for 4 catches for 24 yards. The guy can produce in the passing game as well. He's still pretty cheap because of the fact he didn't have much volume the weeks before that. 6,400 on FanDuel, 5,900 on DK. So I think you can hit on Jonathan Taylor before his price goes up because I think hopefully they did actually figure it out. I know Indianapolis coaching staff has been frustrating as they rotate guys in and out, but I think when they came off their bye week, I think they made a decision to make Jonathan Taylor the lead back, and that's a good thing at this price. A pretty good matchup against Tennessee. And of course, Indianapolis's offensive line has a huge run blocking advantage, as they do almost every single week, because their offensive line is awesome at creating space. And Jonathan Taylor is explosive and powerful. So again, we've been waiting for a blow up game from this guy all year. And if he can get somewhere around 20 carries, this could be finally the game. And he's still a reasonable price here. So that's why we have to mention Jonathan Taylor again, even though we've been on and off and hot and cold on him all year. He's the guy that's in a good situation. They want to run the ball, and you can run the ball on Tennessee here and just run the clock out and pound it. And I think he definitely gets the red zone looks as well and the goal line looks. So I would take a look at Jonathan Taylor this week. He's not my favorite play, but he's among my player pool of guys that could have a big game.
All right, well, I've got 2 guys on DraftKings that I want to mention who I also in my pool who I think could have a big game in the 6K range. And the first one's Mike Davis. We've got CMC, who looks like he's not going to play. We know when Davis has the backfield as the lead, he's been awesome several times. Not quite as productive here lately, but I like his chances against Minnesota. Another game over 50 on BetUS, 51.5 to be exact. And we know that he's going to get used in the passing game and on the ground. So you could go to Davis. Or if you want to save a little bit, you could go down to Ronald Jones, 6,100 against the Chiefs. They give up 133 yards per game on the ground, and that's really the best way to attack them. And we've seen teams do that repeatedly here recently. So, he's not one of those guys that you can trust to get all of the key carries. We know Fournette is there. He hasn't been good catching the ball. But if they can, open up some holes for him and be successful in the running game, they're going to keep doing it. That's what they want to do to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. So you could go to Jones this week at 6,100.
Awesome. Here's another guy that's popping up as a good value that probably at the beginning of the year you didn't think you would ever play this guy. But we're looking at the New York Giants here, Wayne Gallman. We talked about how the Giants are going for this division crown here. I like to joke about how all they got to do is get to like 6 wins. But Wayne Gallman's a big part of that. Their running game. I mean, the guy's gotten a touchdown the last 4 games. He got 2 touchdowns last week against a tough Philadelphia team. So he's obviously a workhorse, and he's got good quickness and power in there. He looks good. He can catch balls. He hasn't caught a ton of balls, but he is capable of that. And he's their main bell cow back. I think they're committed to him, and they got a great matchup on the road in Cincinnati. They're big favorites here, 6-point favorites in Cincinnati, and it's a good matchup. They're weak against the run, pretty weak everywhere in the defense. So I think the Giants are going to score and put up a lot of points. Wayne Gallman can have a good game script in the second half. Obviously, the guy's great in the red zone and great at the goal line here. Hopefully he can catch some passes as well. And at the price of, $5,000 on DraftKings, 5,700 on FanDuel, he's looking like a great value here, and that allows you to pay up at other positions. So I think you can definitely fire up Wayne Gallman as he helps to help the New York Giants compete in this NFC East race here.
Yeah, Gallman's in a great spot for all the reasons you mentioned. And since you've described his situation, I've got to pick somebody else. I'm going to go with more of a GPP play here, a lower ownership, Myles Gaskin, because he's a little bit more expensive on DraftKings. He's 5,700, and he's got that questionable tag. So assuming he's out there, we know that Ahmed is out. So I think if they put him back out there, he's healthy, he's ready to be the lead. And we saw in this matchup against the Jets, when they met earlier in the season, he had over 16 fantasy points on DraftKings without scoring a touchdown. And I think there's a great chance that he does score if he gets out there. And Miami, big favorites here, 7-point favorites against the Jets. So I like the lower ownership here with that questionable tag and some really good upside.
Awesome. Here's another guy that's a value play. I think he's going to end up being pretty popular. He's popping up later in the week. All of a sudden, Todd Gurley is out for this game. And this is the game we have been talking about, over under 53. And that's Las Vegas Raiders at the Atlanta Falcons. And we're looking at Brian Hill. So he's going to be at home. They're an underdog, but Brian Hill can catch passes and get pretty much almost all the rushing work here. Not an elite matchup or anything like that, but it's kind of middle of the road matchup. Vegas is decent against the run, but they're not really like a scary matchup. But I like the fact that Brian Hill, to me, looks like the most explosive, most talented running back on this team is Todd Gurley. I think it's kind of washed. Todd Gurley has a knack for the end zone, but he's not explosive as Brian Hill. So he's going to be the lead bell cow back here. If you look at his price over on DraftKings, that's at the minimum, which is $4,000. In FanDuel, it's near the minimum at $5,100. So you got a high-scoring game here with a team that, they're not necessarily known for running the ball, but they can definitely get the job done here. He's going to get enough volume, and the guy actually gets the job done when he gets carries. He's just been behind Gurley all year. So now that Gurley's out of the way, I think Brian Hill could have a breakout game, and they really like him. I think they will feed him here and try to stay in this high scoring game. So you can fire up Brian Hill this week. He's super cheap in a high scoring game. So at home here. So I'll definitely take it.
Yeah, I'll fire him up as well. And again, since you've got this great value play picked out, who I think is worth playing, I'm going to mention a pivot in a GPP. How about Frank Gore, the ageless wonder? And this week he's got P. Ryan out. So he's going to get even more carries. This is a guy who gets, 12 to 14 carries most weeks. And maybe he gets 15 or more. He's only 4,300. And he's just, he's unstoppable. His will is just incredible.
Plus, we got an Adam Gase narrative. It's like Adam Gase's last hurrah. He's going to give his guy Frank Gore like 20 carries, for like 2 touchdowns. That'd be awesome, right? Adam Gase, yes, he's going to give you those crazy eyes as he's looking at Frank Gore. So you got to love Adam Gase. So.
Yeah, I mean, against Miami, again, 7-point underdogs. And if the Jets really are trying to lose out here, which would not surprise me, let's just give Gore 20 carries. Let him have his 85 yards. Maybe he gets a touchdown. We lose. Great. But Gore pays off in fantasy. So that'd be the reason to get him out there. So
plus that'll help run the clock so you can end the game as quick as possible. So.
Exactly. Just get on to the next
for the Jets. It might be good for them. Yep.
Well, if you want to get the final coach's clipboard on DraftKings or the full lineups on FanDuel that we give out, the cash lineup and the 2 GPP lineups every Sunday on the main slate, then join us as a member and take advantage of the terrific offer. Go to betus.com.pa, make your first deposit there for $149, and you'll get to use that credit there and also get free membership with us all winter and get all access to all of our sports every slate. So it's an incredible offer, our best ever. We'd love to have you join the group that's taken advantage of it already and get you in here to our Discord on Sunday for the Week 12 main slate lineups and also the primetime games. So can't forget about that, Shane.
Yeah, we got the Sunday night, Monday night games going on here. So we'll see with all these stuff moving around. We might have some double, triple headers. You never know what's going to pop up with this COVID stuff here. Yeah. But yeah, we got some great primetime matchups coming up. So definitely check those out. We cover the Sunday night, Monday night games from a perspective of the primetime slate. And also you can use that for showdown lineups, which they have some huge contests there. So definitely, hit us up there and remember to subscribe to us and like all our videos here so you can continue to get these awesome videos every week.
Yeah, and if you didn't catch the quarterback show, make sure to check it out. And also the wide receiver tight end show specifically for the Week 12 main slate, which has already posted. So that's going to wrap it up on this one. On behalf of Shane Caldwell and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I am Andrew Hansen. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next podcast as we look to crush it in DFS.